They say Moses parted the Red Sea with nothing but faith and obedience. But what if I told you there's something else he left behind? Something lost, buried beneath centuries of silence and secrecy. A prayer. Not just any prayer. A sacred invocation spoken by Moses himself in the solitude of the desert when his people were starving, directionless, and desperate for hope. A prayer that wasn't recorded in the book of Exodus, but has resurfaced in ancient Hebrew scrolls. One that, when spoken with intention, unlocks abundance. Not metaphorical abundance, but real, measurable, financial miracles. Yes, I'm talking about wealth, prosperity, lottery numbers. The kind of breakthrough that doesn't knock at your door, it blows it off the hinges. Imagine this. You're staring at a lottery ticket. You've chosen the numbers with no logic, just instinct, or maybe something deeper. You don't know why, but these numbers came after a strange dream, or a whisper during prayer. The next day, you're checking the results. Every digit matches. You're not just a winner, you're the one they write about. That's not luck. That's spiritual mathematics. That's divine design. And the blueprint? It's encoded in this lost prayer of Moses. Now, before you dismiss this as fantasy, ask yourself this. Why have so many ancient spiritual texts been hidden, suppressed, or retranslated to the point of confusion? Why does the modern world know Moses as a liberator, but forget that he also called forth manna from heaven, spoke to burning bushes, and summoned water from rocks? These weren't symbols. They were physical manifestations of abundance in a desert. If Moses could generate prosperity in the wilderness, then what stops that same force from reaching you in your own financial desert? The truth is, wealth and miracles were never meant to be random. But humanity, over time, forgot how to align with the codes of divine provision. We stopped praying with fire. We stopped asking with precision. We stopped believing that heaven could move earthly digits. This lost prayer brings that fire back. It doesn't beg, it commands. It doesn't plead, it proclaims. Because when Moses prayed, he didn't hope, he expected. And that's what this prayer does for those who dare to speak it. It reactivates the expectation of wealth, not through toil, but through faith and alignment. This video isn't just a story, it's a reconstruction. A spiritual decoding of a powerful sequence of words once whispered into the sand by a man who walked with God. A sequence that, when spoken today, acts as a key. And the lock? The realm where jackpot numbers already exist, where unexpected checks are already assigned your name, where prizes, inheritances, and anonymous donations are waiting in heavenly escrow. But here's the real challenge. Most people won't finish this video. Most will click away, not because they don't need money, but because they're scared of actually receiving it. They've been conditioned to believe in hard work, in scarcity, in waiting decades to earn what could be summoned in days. And yet, deep down, part of them still aches to believe it's possible. That's who this video is for. Not the skeptical, but the hungry. The silent warriors who've tried everything, affirmations, strategy, manifestation, and are ready for spiritual technology older than any self-help book. You'll hear this prayer today. You'll feel it. And if your heart is aligned, if your soul vibrates at the frequency of bold asking, you won't just be inspired, you'll be altered. Because this isn't about religious doctrine, this is about results. Moses didn't build a temple, he built a legacy of transformation. And it began with the words he spoke in sacred rhythm to a God who always answers. So, are you ready to hear it? Are you ready to speak it? Are you ready to claim what has always been yours, but was hidden in dust and scrolls for generations? Because by the end of this video, you won't just believe in miracles, you'll expect them. And those who expect, receive. If your spirit is already stirring, if you feel that what I said just awakened something in you, then write in the comments, I am ready for divine wealth. Not later, not maybe, not someday. Say it now, claim it now. I am ready for divine wealth. Because what comes next only answers those who declare they're prepared. For most people, the idea of divine wealth feels like a cruel joke, something whispered in ancient scripture, but never seen in modern life. They pray, they visualize, they repeat affirmations every morning until their voices crack. They tithe, fast, meditate. Yet, the bank account stays empty. The rent is late. The credit cards scream. And in the silence of their rooms, they whisper a question they're ashamed to admit, even to themselves. Is God ignoring me? It's not a lack of effort. You work hard. You do what's right. You support others, stay positive, push through storms. But every time you think you're close to a breakthrough, something collapses. An unexpected bill, a denied opportunity, a promise that never materializes. And slowly, almost imperceptibly, the light inside you begins to dim. You still believe in miracles, but for others, not for you. You still clap when someone else wins, but inside, a quiet bitterness starts to grow. What am I doing wrong? That question is the prison of millions. Good-hearted people, faithful people, people who don't want a yacht or a private jet. They just want enough to breathe, enough to stop choosing between medication and groceries, enough to pay off that one debt that keeps them up at night, enough to finally feel safe in their own home. But the more they pray, the more silence they hear, until prayer becomes mechanical, empty, a ritual without results, and the world doesn't help. Social media flaunts people who seem to win constantly, money, prizes, houses, while you wonder how they did it. Was it luck? Connections? Or did they know something you don't? Let me be brutally honest. Most people have never been taught how to ask properly. They think prayer is about begging, pleading, hoping. But Moses never begged. He stood on dry ground and declared the sea to part. He didn't say, "Please, God, if you have time." He spoke with alignment, with authority, with precision. He understood the codes of divine response, and that's the root of the problem. We've forgotten how to pray like spiritual architects. We speak like beggars when we were meant to speak like kings and queens. You've probably said things like, "I just want enough to get by. If I could just win one little prize, maybe it's not my time yet." Those words don't activate heaven. They activate delay. Because the divine realm doesn't respond to doubt. It responds to conviction. The real tragedy? You're closer than you think. Your miracle isn't being withheld. It's being misaligned. It's like trying to tune into a radio frequency, but being just a few degrees off. You hear static, silence. But if you shift even slightly, the signal becomes clear. That's what this prayer of Moses does. It shifts the frequency. It tunes your words, your heart, and your energy into alignment with real wealth manifestation. Because poverty isn't natural. Scarcity isn't holy. The God of Moses never designed lack. He rained food from the sky. He released plagues to set captives free. He promised overflow, not survival. But somewhere along the way, religion and culture began to teach that suffering is noble, that money is dirty, that wanting more is greed. And those lies became shackles around the prayers of millions. I need you to hear this. You were never meant to struggle this way. You were never meant to wonder if you'd have enough next month. That constant stress you feel when bills arrive, that isn't from God. That's a signal that something is out of alignment, that your spiritual inheritance has been blocked, not by evil, but by ignorance. And today, that ends. Because this video isn't here to offer false hope. It's here to expose the gap between what you've been told and what is divinely available. It's here to restore your authority, to remind you that you are not a servant hoping for scraps. You are a child of the Most High, entitled to access provision beyond your comprehension. But first, you need to unlearn the passive prayers. You need to shed the victim mindset. You need to stop thinking that miracles are for special people. They're not. Miracles are for anyone who prays in alignment with spiritual law, and that begins by identifying the real problem. You've been operating with incomplete instructions. You've been praying with an open heart but a blocked frequency. This prayer of Moses isn't magic. It's not superstition. It's spiritual science. It's the combination of vibration, word, and authority spoken in a sacred pattern. And once you hear it, once you speak it with clarity, you will begin to notice shifts, subtle at first, then undeniable. A contest you forgot you entered calls you. A payment error is corrected in your favor. A check arrives without warning. These are not coincidences. They are confirmations. But only for those who are willing to admit, something's not working. And that's what you must face now. Be honest. Have your prayers been bringing results, or just relief? Have you been declaring wealth, or tolerating lack? Because when you finally identify the real problem, not just the lack of money, but the lack of alignment, you unlock the first gate. And what's waiting behind it? The ancient, radiant wealth that Moses knew how to summon in the middle of a desert. If this message speaks to your soul, if you realize that you've been praying without results, and you're ready to change that permanently, then subscribe right now. Not later. Not after you think about it. Do it now. Because what comes next will require a deeper level of understanding. And I only want to walk this journey with those who are ready. Hit the button and stay until the end. The wealth you've been waiting for might be one sacred word away. Now that you understand the root of the problem, misalignment, incomplete instructions, and powerless prayer, it's time to introduce the solution. Not a concept, not a feel-good suggestion, but a precise spiritual formula delivered through sacred language, encoded in time and history, and preserved through vibration rather than ink. I'm talking about the lost prayer of Moses, a prayer that bridges the gap between faith and manifestation, a prayer that Moses didn't recite in public temples, but murmured in isolation when the weight of leading a lost nation pressed into his chest and he needed divine proof, not just promises. This isn't folklore, it's revelation. A whispered invocation found in fragments of ancient texts that scholars dismissed as poetic repetition. But the initiated knew better. They recognized it as a code, a structured alignment of words, tones, and divine intention, not only to bring down mana, but to summon material victory in the physical realm. To speak this prayer is to unlock a vibrational signature that heaven recognizes instantly. A sound pattern that echoes the same language used when creation itself was spoken into existence. So what exactly is this solution? It's not a magic spell. It's not a chant. It's a divine alignment tool. When spoken aloud, with full conviction and spiritual authority, this prayer begins to retune the frequencies around your life. You've probably heard the phrase, "Words have power." But most people never learn how to wield that power properly. The lost prayer of Moses doesn't beg, it declares. It doesn't request, it releases. It doesn't wait, it activates. Let me make this clear. You don't have to be religious to speak it. You don't have to belong to any institution. You don't even have to be perfect. What you need is willingness. A heart that says, "I am ready to stop surviving and start receiving." That's the key. Because this prayer will challenge your identity. It will shift how you see money, how you speak about it, how you invite it. It doesn't flow into confusion. It flows where there's spiritual command. The structure of the prayer mirrors the divine laws of manifestation, invocation of source, calling on the same creator who parted seas and raised kings. Declaration of identity, affirming your divine right as a receiver, not a beggar. Release of resistance, eliminating internal blockages that sabotage financial flow. Activation of specific blessing, naming exactly what you're ready to receive. Gratitude in advance, sealing the prayer with a vibration of fulfilled expectation. Each part is intentional. Each word carries weight. When Moses uttered it, he wasn't hoping, he was co-creating. That's the level we're being invited into. A level where faith is not wishful thinking, but a strategy for supernatural success. And that's what this prayer reawakens in you. You may be asking, why haven't I heard of this before? Because power like this has always been hidden, buried under ritual, diluted by translations, and feared by systems that thrive on your dependence and lack. The moment people remember that wealth isn't earned, it's summoned, is the moment they become uncontrollable. And make no mistake, this prayer makes you a threat to poverty, to limitation, to the spirit of not enough. Here's what happens when people speak it. A man who'd been unemployed for 9 months spoke it for 7 days. On the 8th day, a company called with a position he didn't even apply for, offering double his previous salary. A woman in debt repeated it before sleeping. Within a week, her bank reversed a mistake and deposited funds she never expected. A grandmother whispered it into her hands every morning. By the end of the month, her lottery ticket matched 5 of 6 numbers. Coincidence? No. This is the language of alignment. This is what happens when heaven finally hears a frequency it can answer with fire. But this isn't passive. This isn't entertainment. This prayer requires your voice, your presence, your full intention. You cannot mumble your way into abundance. You must roar. You must speak it like Moses spoke into the sand, with trembling purpose and full expectation. The divine doesn't respond to volume. It responds to alignment. Here's the truth. The wealth you're seeking already exists. It's already been assigned. There are bank accounts, properties, prizes, inheritances, all with your name invisibly attached. But spiritual law requires one thing before release: activation. This prayer is that activation, not tomorrow, not later, now. And here's what's coming. In this very video, in just a few minutes, you will be guided through the exact words Moses used, restored, restructured, and reignited for today. It will be given to you freely, because you deserve it, because it's time, and because enough is enough. You've cried long enough, struggled long enough, survived long enough. This is the turning point. This is the moment where heaven responds not because you're broken, but because you finally remembered. You are not the problem. You were just missing the code. And now, you have it. Now that you know the lost prayer of Moses exists, and that it was designed not just for liberation, but for supernatural provision, it's time to apply it. You don't need a priest. You don't need candles, altars, incense, or a pilgrimage to the desert. What you need is alignment, repetition, and obedience. Because Moses didn't perform miracles once. He did it repeatedly, through ritualized spiritual discipline, knowing that divine wealth responds not to chaos, but to pattern. Here's your step-by-step guide to activating the Moses frequency, the exact process that unlocks this ancient prayer and positions you to receive, not just spiritually, but financially. Read this slowly. Absorb every word. This isn't motivation. This is instructional warfare against poverty. Step 1. Cleanse the channel. Before you speak the prayer, you must cleanse the channel. That channel is you, not physically, spiritually. Every day, you're bombarded with fear, scarcity, and mental pollution. News, complaints, doubt, financial stress. It clogs the spiritual pipeline. To begin, take 3 full minutes in silence. No phone, no distractions, just silence. Then speak out loud. I now release all fear, all doubt, all lies about my worth. I am clean. I am open. I am ready. This statement is not symbolic. It's literal. Your words must purify the atmosphere. You're preparing the soil for a financial harvest. Step 2. Enter the right posture. No, you don't need to kneel, but your posture must be intentional. Stand tall or sit with your back straight, spine aligned, heart open, hands either open in front of you or placed on your chest. Why? Because posture is a message. If you slouch like a beggar, your words lose power. If you stand like a receiver, the universe recognizes your readiness. Moses never approached the divine casually. He approached it with reverent boldness. You must do the same. Step 3. Declare the divine name. The prayer begins with a sacred invocation. This name is not to be rushed. Speak slowly. O source of all provision, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the flame who called Moses from the bush, I call you now. Pause after this sentence. Let it settle in the air. Let your body feel the authority of that address. When you speak these words, you're aligning not just with heaven, but with generations of spiritual legacy. This name opens the gate. Step 4. Affirm your identity. Here is where most people get it wrong. They ask as slaves, not as sons and daughters. You must declare who you are, not who the world told you to be. Speak. I am not lack. I am not delay. I am not scarcity. I am a child of divine wealth. I am an heir to spiritual riches. I am aligned with abundance. Say it as many times as needed until your body starts to believe it. This is an affirmation. It's activation. Step 5. Speak the prayer of Moses. Now you release the encoded words. You will receive the full prayer later in this video. But once you have it, speak it daily. Preferably in the morning, before checking your phone, and once again, before sleep. Whisper it if you must, but never mindlessly. Speak it with breath, with force, with certainty. Speak it like Moses, who spoke into the air expecting it to obey. Step 6. Name your blessing after the prayer. Name exactly what you desire. This is where people sabotage themselves with vagueness. Don't say, I want to be rich. Say, I am now open to receiving $25,000 this month through divine means. I am ready to receive a financial gift, a prize, or a contract of supernatural value. Name it. Claim it. Own it. You don't place a vague order at a restaurant. Why would you speak vaguely to heaven? Step 7. Seal it with gratitude. This is where the power locks in. Speak. Thank you, Source, that it is already done. Thank you for aligning what I cannot see. I receive it with joy. I expect it with boldness. And I walk as if it has already arrived. This is where the miracle starts moving. Gratitude isn't the end of the prayer. It's the engine that pushes it into reality. Step 8. Repeat for 9 days. This is not a one-time action. Speak the full process. Cleansing, posture, declaration, prayer, request, and gratitude for 9 consecutive days. Why 9? Because spiritually, 9 is the number of birth, finality, and transition. On the 9th day, something shifts. Whether externally or internally, you will feel the break, but only if you complete it. Don't skip a day. Don't shorten the process. Don't rush. This is not superstition. This is spiritual law. Step 9. Watch for signs, not logic. The result may not come in the form you expect. It may be a message, a call, a canceled debt, a dream, or a check. Don't try to control the how, just honor the what. Your only job is to speak, believe, and stay open. Moses never told God how to part the sea. He just raised his staff and expected movement. Now, if you've read this far, I know one thing. Your spirit is ready. But there's one final step I need you to take, and this one is personal. There is a spiritual blockage you carry that you're not even aware of. A silent resistance, planted through trauma, doubt, or generational patterns, that's quietly sabotaging every financial breakthrough you're trying to manifest. The lost prayer is powerful, yes, but if the root isn't pulled out, the fruit can't grow. So here's what you must do. Click the link in the pinned comment below. It leads to a completely free quiz, created specifically to reveal what spiritual blockage is keeping you poor. It's not a gimmick, it's a mirror. It's designed to show you in just a few questions what's been hiding in your energetic field and how to break it permanently. Don't skip this. Don't wait. The prayer opens the door, but this quiz will show you what's chained to your ankles. Take it now. It might be the most financially important 3 minutes of your life. Her name was Elena. 48 years old, divorced, 2 adult children she barely spoke to, a job she hated, and a paycheck that vanished within 3 days of arriving. For most of her life, Elena believed in God, but somewhere along the road, her faith had turned into something silent, hollow, a ritual she performed, not a force she felt. She still prayed, but deep down, she no longer expected anything to happen. Elena had tried everything: law of attraction, angel numbers, midnight affirmations. She followed spiritual coaches on social media who promised abundance, but her bank account remained in the same suffocating place. Worse, she was tired. Not just physically, but spiritually bankrupt. She didn't want a yacht. She didn't want millions. She just wanted to stop feeling like she was being punished for something she couldn't name. One night, scrolling through YouTube on her cracked phone, Elena found a video with a title that hit her like lightning. This lost prayer of Moses reveals tomorrow's jackpot numbers. Something in her chest shifted. Not excitement, not even curiosity. Something deeper. Hunger. She clicked. As the narrator spoke about Moses, about ancient codes and vibrational alignment, something inside her, long asleep, woke up. This wasn't New Age fluff. It wasn't empty prosperity preaching. It was truth. Something older than religion. Something raw. Elena watched the video to the end, tears quietly sliding down her cheek. For the first time in years, she felt seen. She took out a notebook and wrote down every word, every step. She didn't skip. She didn't roll her eyes. She did it all. Silence, posture, invocation, identity, prayer, specific request, and gratitude. She chose her number, $11,000. Why? It would clear her debts, repair her car, and leave enough for a cushion. That was it. She didn't ask for more. For 9 days, Elena spoke the prayer, morning and night, with conviction, with trembling at first, then with fire. Her voice changed. Her posture changed. She began walking through her apartment like a queen in exile, waiting to be restored. On the 6th day, she found a scratch-off ticket in her coat pocket. She didn't remember buying it. Thought it was probably expired, but she scratched it anyway. 2 numbers, then 3, then a code. She didn't scream. She didn't cry. She just sat, in complete silence, watching as the screen on her phone told her, "Congratulations, claim amount, $10,000 plus. Bonus draw, $1,000. Exactly $11,000. No one believed her. Her sister said it was luck. Her coworker said it was random. But Elena knew better. It wasn't just the money. It was what followed. An apology letter from her son. A bonus from her employer. A free trip won from a radio contest. Things she never asked for, but now flowed to her without resistance. The prayer didn't just give her cash. It gave her authority. But here's what changed everything. Elena didn't stop. She kept praying. Not for money, but for alignment. And the more she prayed, the more she received. She donated to a shelter, helped a friend pay rent, gave her car to a single mom, and got a brand new one 2 weeks later from a raffle she never entered. This wasn't a one-time miracle. It was a new rhythm, a new reality, and it began the moment she stopped treating prayer like a request and started using it like a key. Elena's story isn't unique because of the money. It's powerful because it proves that spiritual transformation always precedes material victory. She didn't become lucky. She became aligned. And when you're aligned, money chases you. Doors open. People remember your name. Delays dissolve. You become magnetic not because of who you follow, but because of what you carry. And now, Her life is a testimony, not to chance, but to the spiritual science Moses encoded in a lost prayer, a prayer now rediscovered, revived, and released. Now you've seen it all, not just information, but revelation. The truth that was hidden behind dusty translations and decades of spiritual forgetfulness has now resurfaced. And it didn't come to entertain you. It came to wake you up. From the very beginning, we asked a bold question. What if Moses left behind a prayer not for the past, but for your future? A prayer not simply meant for deserts and plagues, but for debt and financial drought. And what we uncovered was more than theory. It was a spiritual architecture that's been silently waiting for your voice. Let's revisit what was revealed, because repetition seals transformation. First, we expose the problem. People pray with hope, but without alignment. They ask for breakthroughs while holding subconscious chains of doubt, fear, and spiritual confusion. The result? They speak with emotion, but nothing manifests. Why? Because they were taught to pray as beggars, not builders. Then we introduce the solution, the lost prayer of Moses. A divine invocation rooted not in superstition, but in a sacred pattern that mirrors the rhythm of creation itself. A prayer that reactivates your spiritual authority and draws wealth toward you, not by chance, but by frequency. You don't force it, you tune into it. After that, we gave you the steps. Not vague advice, but a system, a roadmap. Cleanse your channel. Stand in divine posture. Declare the sacred name. Speak your identity. Release the words of the prayer with power. Claim exactly what you desire. Seal it with gratitude. Repeat it for 9 days. And most importantly, stay open to unusual signs of favor. And you saw it come alive in Elena's story. A woman who once felt invisible, who remembered her voice, and spoke her future into reality. $11,000 wasn't the miracle. The real miracle was her awakening, the moment her prayers stopped echoing into silence and started commanding responses from heaven. So now we stand at the edge of decision. This isn't about wishing anymore. This is about choosing. The words have been given. The pattern has been laid out. The results have been shown. The only variable left is you. You have to ask yourself, will I speak this prayer with the same authority Moses did when he raised his hands over the Red Sea? Or will I go back to praying safe, powerless prayers that sound holy, but change nothing? Let's be clear. Abundance is not reserved for a few. The wealth of the universe is not running out. What's scarce is faith with action. Alignment without delay. Courage to speak what has been feared for centuries. I am meant to be wealthy, not because I'm greedy, but because I'm aligned with divine overflow. This is your burning bush moment, not one of fire, but of clarity. Something inside you knows this is real, not just for Elena, not just for ancient prophets, but for you. And here's the most important truth I can leave you with. The prayer alone is not the final key. You are. You are the temple. You are the channel. You are the frequency. When you speak the lost prayer, you're not calling money out of thin air. You're calling it from the part of you that always had it. That quiet, powerful, divine version of you that's been waiting. Not for a sign, but for a sound. Your sound. And now that you've heard all this, you can't go back. You can't unknow it. You can't pretend it didn't stir something deep in your chest. Because it did. That's not emotion. That's spirit remembering its wealth. So here's your final reminder. Don't delay. Don't intellectualize this. Don't let doubt creep in and steal what is already yours. Because miracles don't wait for your schedule. They wait for your decision. If you've made it this far, it's because your spirit is hungry. Not just for knowledge, but for transformation. You don't watch something like this by accident. You were drawn here, called, pulled into this message because deep down, you know it's time. Time to stop surviving. Time to stop hoping someday. Time to start receiving. Today. But here's the truth most people won't tell you. Revelation without action dies in the mind. What you just heard, what you felt, what lit a fire inside you, if you don't act on it now, it will fade. Doubt will creep in. Life will distract you. And this window of clarity will close. So I'm asking you to do 3 things, right now. Not tomorrow, not later. Now. First, subscribe to this channel. Not because of me, but because this is just the beginning. We're not done. There are more prayers, more ancient codes, more spiritual tools to be revealed that were hidden for centuries, waiting for people like you to finally use them. Don't miss them. Don't try to remember to come back later. Hit that button. Anchor this connection. Second, comment below, but not just any comment. Declare it. Right now, write, I am aligned with divine wealth. Say it in public, not for others, but for yourself. Something shifts when you write it. Something spiritual. It becomes real, visible, activated. Don't hold it inside. Third, and this is crucial, if you haven't clicked the link in the pinned comment yet, do it now. That quiz isn't random. It was designed to reveal exactly what spiritual block has been keeping your abundance in chains. You think you know? Think again. The results will shock you, and finally explain what all your affirmations, strategies, and prayers have missed. It takes 3 minutes, but what it unlocks could shift the next 30 years of your life. Your next miracle starts after you act, so act now. Because heaven only moves when you do.